I'm sat here in front of a massive Doppler radar that looks like a giant soccer ball or the Death Star or something like that, which is visible to the naked eye from Missoula. And it's something. It's quite the thing. I'm gonna spend the next couple of nights in the Rattlesnake Wilderness working on some images. One of the things I'm doing is taking some images for some interpretive kiosk signs on a trail down Grant Creek, of the Grant Creek drainage, trying to get some images of the basins from which the Grant Creek waters originate. Not sure what the shots are going to be. I'm not even sure where I'm going to camp yet. What I'm going to do from here, from the top of Point 6, is I'm going to work my way along a ridge back towards Murphy Peak, which is kind of the head of the Grant Creek Basin. And then we're just going to dive down into the basin and wander around and see what I can find. So I've got 3 days to do it. Forecast looks awesome. We've got some great clouds already today and lovely gaps all around us, particularly in the west, where we're going to want it for sunset tonight, for the sun to be thrown up into the clouds. It actually looks pretty promising. I thought it was going to be a little cloudier today. It looks like a very pleasant late September forecast. Excited to see what we see. I made it to the saddle back here that is above the highest little finger of the Grant Creek Basin, and the highest part of it, really. You got Murphy Peak, which is, I think, 8167, second highest named peak in the Rattlesnake Wilderness, and then, which is right back here, somewhere right up there, right below it. An integral part of this interpretive sign for which this image will be used is the crystalline waters of Grant Creek. How amazing it is that you got this short little creek dropping out of this basin that comes from these beautiful, pristine springs and lakes up here in the Rattlesnake Wilderness, the subalpine, and in a few short miles flows down into Missoula. It's pretty amazing, and the water here is precious, a precious, precious resource. And one of the curiosities I have in this is just finding the sources of each of the fingers of the Grant Creek Basin and trying to understand the flow of the water. Because of course, when you get down to Grant Creek in Missoula, the water is flowing steadily year round. I'm excited to check out the origins of this creek and try to figure out how to photograph it. That is going to be totally new. I mean, I don't even know. I have no shot visions in mind. Oftentimes for a trip like this, I like scout on Google Maps and start to try to pre-visualize a little bit what kind of angles would work and potentially what foreground elements might be a powerful piece of the image. But I honestly have no idea. It's totally blank slate for me, and I'm excited to explore down here and see what comes of it. All right, I made it. Down in the basin now. Oh, it's so quiet. So I passed the highest little pond in this part of the basin, and it was stagnant. It was just a, little depression that I suspect maybe a little spring there, or just a snowfield collector when they melt, and it didn't have an outlet. But I've come down the slope maybe 100 feet, 200 feet, and I have found running water. Listen to that. From a source somewhere up here, this spring originates. So I'm going to follow it downhill until I get to some sort of collecting pool, little pond or something, and then try to find a place to camp near that. My ideal spot would be a collecting pool below the face of Murphy Peak, below the southeast face of Murphy Peak. It's a beautiful spot, and if I can get an angle on the face from that little body of water, well, that would be pretty cool. But it's hard to, I mean, it's also very forested down here, so getting a clear view back towards the face might be unlikely, but what I'm just gonna follow, I'm gonna follow the water and see where it goes. I followed the spring down and it took me here, a place that I saw on the satellite view, and it's on topo maps, and it's listed and marked as a lake on topo maps. But look at this, I'm standing right in the middle of it. I do believe that it is a lake at some point, but an ephemeral one. It does have nice, it's just this nice little bowl. You can see where the little shoreline would be. It's probably only a foot or two deep when this Murphy Peak here behind me, when this face melts. This is where it all goes initially. So yeah, this is I guess this in a sense is a place where water begins for Grant Creek. Certainly that spring it went underground again as I followed it, but little bits and pieces of the water are continuing to reemerge as I go. In fact, right on the edge here, you can see there's some water right down here. There's a little bit of spring water coming up, it looks like. So the search continues. So I'm gonna keep following the water and follow this fall line where the ground is just saturated like it was a creek pretty recently. Let's see where it takes us. And it all kind of funnels over here, it looks like, to what would be an outlet, probably in the late spring, early summer. Let's see where that goes. I'm starting to feel like a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush, because looking down at the first little finger of Grant Creek Basin, the one a little bit closer to town that I passed, there was a beautiful little pond with a little island and a meadow around it. But I was holding out for this one. I wanted to come up as far as I could, as far as made sense, and see what the water story was up here. And it's different. It's very different than I expected. Yeah, I hear running water again. Right over here. I'm kind of on the edge of another step as we go down the basin. And right down in here in the what would be the outlet for this little lake I walked through, there's running water. Let's see if we can find it. I ended up reaching this point right here where the flow of water is strongest, right below me. It's actually flowing pretty good. A little creek there, little start of the creek. But there are no pools here, no pools to speak of. So I'm going to see if and I'm running out of light. That's another factor. Wow, look at that behind me. That's amazing. I'm running out of light. I need to find a spot and make camp. I want to have a camp that's strategic. I want to be in a spot where I've got cool options for photos. So I've made the decision to try to, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna try to contour around a little ridge here and go back to those ponds that I saw a little while back in the drainage, just a little bit back. Those looked really cool and looked really promising, with great camping and lots of space to be able to get vistas with those ponds. They weren't tucked into trees or anything. So I'm gonna see if I can ideally just wrap around. I think I'm at about the right elevation at this point, and if I can just contour a bit, I think I'll be in good shape to get there no time at all. Well, that's the goal at this point. I gotta get moving. It's about 45 minutes until golden hour, and an hour and a half until sunset. It's cool to see the spring, kind of the origins of at least one of the branches of Grant Creek. Assuming it drains. It's hard to say, because the landscape here, the topography kind of drops and levels, and that water seems to get reabsorbed into little aquifers or something. And oh, there's ancient seabed there. That's cool. Oh man, moment of truth. Coming around the river bend here. Oh yeah. This is awesome. Very cool. What a beautiful spot. I found an image I'm pretty keen on. I kind of wrote tonight off because of where I am in this basin. The sun sets super early behind this west wall, the head wall here, and so I was like, well, there's not gonna be any cool light or anything. But the clouds are doing some really cool stuff right now that actually is making for, ooh, that's nice, a pretty cool, somewhat abstract image. So this is the scene, and if we look up, look at this cloud. It perfectly fits the indentation of this ridge. It just fits like a glove. And the reflection, of course, is mirroring it, which is very cool amongst these little reeds. This is what it looks like. I'm exposure bracketing because it is such a high contrast scene. I'm doing three exposures that'll blend together later. Real quick here. Let's double check those. So it's really blown out. This is my shadow exposure, not my highlight. And then, oops. And then there is my shadow. That cloud is breaking up fast though. Wow, okay. We're going to have to get some shots in here really quick like. This is a really neat little spot. I think it's going to work great for sunrise. When I got here, I thought, oh, definitely a sunrise location because the sun will rise behind us here and throw really early golden hour light on the wall above us. Pretty typical scenario. And then we'll have all this water and foreground stuff to work with. I think that's going to do it for this particular shot tonight. And the light is gone. So I'm gonna let the time lapse run a little bit longer. There's a little cloud still up there, might catch some light, and go make some dinner, drink some water, maybe make a fire, crawl into bed with a book. Love fall camping so much, so much.
Wow. What crazy light this morning. I don't know that I did a good job capturing any of it on video or even stills. I just wasn't quite ready. I did shoot a bunch of frames. I did the best I could. Did run a time lapse, so I think I got some of the light, but all of a sudden, a little bit of glow, a little bit of orange tint to the high peaks here. It was amazing. I pivoted and scrambled and just, instead of trying to go slow and smooth and trying to find the perfect composition, because the light was so fleeting, I was in snapshot mode, but I had a good time doing it. I don't think that I got anything terribly strong, but I got, at least I got something. Because my fear is, had I had gone slow, super slow, like I usually do to try to dial in a composition, it would have been too late. The light would have been gone. But I do think I got at least a couple of good shots here, especially for the assignment for this. Just thinking about the headwaters of Grant Creek, I think I got that. You know, nothing, I don't know, nothing really portfolio worthy, probably composition wise, but light and subject wise, very strong today. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just strong, interesting subject and strong, interesting light. And you got an image, even if the composition isn't spectacular. But yeah, amazing. So cool. Well, what am I going to do? What am I doing today? I haven't decided if I'm going to stay here again tonight. I might continue my journey contouring around all the drainages here. I went to the furthest, now I'm kind of in the middle one, and then I might go to the lower drainage and camp there tonight. I don't know, we'll see. I do feel like that's going to be as good as it gets for here in terms of light. That was really amazing. And I feel pretty good about the shots that I got. I'll judge them when I get home for sure, but what a morning. All right, well, I'm going to pack up, get some coffee, some breakfast, and just enjoy the solitude and quiet. While I was sitting here drinking my coffee this morning, I just kept hearing rock movement, and then occasional rock falls. And I'm not far from a talus slope that comes down a little subsidiary ridge here, and I walked back there, and sure enough, there were two bighorn sheep just grazing the top of the rocks. It was pretty cool. I've never seen bighorns back here. I've seen mountain goats just on the other side of this ridge on Murphy Peak, but I've never seen bighorns. It's pretty cool. I have decided I am going to pack up and continue my journey contouring around the next little ridge to the Soul Lake that does exist back here. I guess referred to locally as Jenny Lake. On the map, it has no name. But I'm gonna work my way over there and camp there tonight. I want to try to get next to a little bit more substantial body of water. This was great. The light was amazing, and I don't think I could do any better here in terms of interesting light. I think that's a good move overall, and I also want to explore that little lake and try to get some shots there. I think I'm just gonna take it easy, have a slow morning, do some reading here, pack up camp. Probably only, 1 to 2 hours to get over to that lake, contouring around, and then make camp and try to scout out some compositions. Glorious. So glorious.
Well, I made it to Jenny Lake. Really beautiful little contour around into this drainage. Super nice walk. I was expecting a little bit more bushwhacking, but it was mostly little interspersed meadows with some copses of trees and some shale slopes. It was just lovely. And what a great shoreline this lake has. Now, the big question for me is, does this lake have an active outlet at the end of summer? I don't know. So I'm walking around towards where the outlet is. I'm gonna see what I can see. And the other thing is, there seems to be a nice campsite on the other side. Let's see here. Oh, there's remnants. Oh, here it is. I hear flowing water. Check this out. I thought it was a little further. Here we go. There is our outlet. Oh, it's beautiful. Ferns, moss. We found it. This so far of the 3 drainages, really the only, there's a couple of minor ones that contribute from the east side, but the west and northwest side really has seemingly the bulk of water that contributes to Grant Creek. And this looks like definitely a main contributor. I'm gonna try to find a place to disperse camp kind of as close to that outlet as possible. Not right on top of it, but I think I found a little spot up here on the knoll, a couple 100 feet away. It's awesome because it's still pretty early in the day. I'm gonna make camp and then just have a leisurely late morning, early afternoon, read, maybe take a nap, and then in the late afternoon, mid to late afternoon, start scouting for compositions for sunset. Whoop. Ah, this is lovely. This little meadow area. Look at the reds. Oh my gosh. Those huckleberry bushes are just vibrant red, especially when backlit. Look at this. When they're backlit, they just glow. I'm gonna try to make something work here. I think it's flat enough and doesn't have too many rocks. Should be good. All right, here we go.
back down at the lake after a very long nap and some reading and an overall very, very restful afternoon. And now I'm trying to figure this out. The composition is not immediately obvious to me. I don't know, I'm struggling a little bit. I've got plenty of time and the weather's looking really favorable. It was cloudy all afternoon, totally 100% cloud cover. And now it's starting to break up, which is great because it looks like the sun is going to set at such an angle that it will throw a little bit of light on the face behind me here. It'll be even better tomorrow morning, but I think it will get a little bit of light, not quite golden hour, maybe a little bit before, but it should be pretty nice warm-ish quality of light. I think it's going to happen fast like this morning, and I just need to have a strong composition lined up. What a beautiful spot. I'm just so happy to be here. It was such a restful afternoon. It was 55 degrees and sunny, just a perfect fall day up here in the subalpine. You can ask for more, really. It's just awesome. So hopefully it makes something work here tonight, and I'll show you here again tomorrow morning. The search continues. All right, it's in the future. I don't know. I haven't been tracking the time very well, but you can see I'm set up right over here. You know, I found a composition that it's okay. I think if the water calms down, which it has been a little bit here and there, and we get a little bit of reflection, it could be all right. The light's not going to be so good. What I do think is this would be a great shot for tomorrow morning. I'm pretty sure the light's going to get thrown pretty well onto the face from the sunrise. It's set behind the ridge so that we're not getting any light on the face. So not a great sunset location in terms of getting golden hour light on the rocks, but I think we will in the morning. So I'm going to keep this one in mind. Actually, this is probably going to be my go-to composition in the morning. Well, we'll just wait to see what happens with the clouds. I think something could happen. Be pretty cool if it did. Well, unfortunately, there was no light in the sky, so no image tonight, but that's all right. I'm glad to have this composition. It'll be nice to have something to wake up to tomorrow morning when I'm somewhat groggy, to just walk up and set up the camera and go. In fact, I think I'm just gonna leave the tripod set up there. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Really an awesome day out. We'll see what happens tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed that the lake is still and the light is good. Pray for light. Pray for light. Wow, what a perfect morning. Not the slightest breeze. No clouds in the sky. Not always the best for photography, but it's a wonderful day to be a human. What a contrast to last night. When I was packing up last evening, I was like, man, it is just, I can't believe how cloudy it is given the forecast, and thought maybe we'd be socked in again this morning. And I wasn't sure if the wind was gonna abate either. And sure enough, clouds left, wind abated, and we're left with a perfectly still, relatively warm fall morning. It's probably in the mid-40s at 7,000 feet. It's very mild. It's very, very nice. So I did leave my tripod set up last night and came to that shot first, set it up, but I knew things weren't going to work pretty much right away because there was actually alpenglow. I haven't seen alpenglow for a little while. Not direct light from the sun hitting the peaks yet, like sunrise, but light bouncing off the atmosphere and projecting on with a soft glow onto the upper peaks. And that happened this morning right here, but I could see it was well to the left of my composition. I was framed up looking this way, and I should have been, ideally would have had a composition looking kind of this way, but I couldn't. That composition was locked in. I mean, any adjustments to the right or the left introduced a whole bunch of problems in terms of distractions on the sides. So that one just had to be this. And so I did shoot it once the sun rose and the peak got a little bit of light. It was just, the light was all the way on the left side of the frame and it felt way off balance. I shot it anyways just because I had already set it up. Usually I would just commit to it and keep shooting through all the light until it was over, but I just took a few shots right away and was like, all right, I need to find some other stuff. And I wandered the shoreline, and I did. I found a couple of different options, a little bit more abstract with the light and the rocks, but really cool, I think. I'm really happy with them. They're not quite as grand as I had planned here, with the big mountain scene, a little bit more intimate, but pretty neat with the rocks and the colors and a little bit of the golden hour light reflected in the water, which is, we got a mirror reflection today, so that worked perfectly. So in the end, it was great. I had a great time exploring over there and just experimenting. This ended up being such a cool outing, and one I wouldn't have done if not for the prompting of a friend asking about doing these and doing some photos for an interpretive sign along Grant Creek. And it was cool to focus the attention on trying to find a specific subject. In this case, follow the water from the highest point in the drainages that feed Grant Creek, where Grant Creek starts. Being up here at this lake just highlights how special our geography and topography is on the edge of Missoula, that we can be just, I would say, 2 miles from town as the crow flies at this point here, and be at a pristine subalpine lake that feeds our waters. This water does pass through the Grant Creek neighborhood, for which there is a lot of action and movement of people along that corridor, and to know that that water originates from these big snowmelt catchments here in the Rattlesnake Mountains is just so special, so close and so special. As a temporary visitor to this wilderness area, it's time for me to go back to Missoula and carry on with life and leave with the memories of being in such a beautiful, pristine area right on the edge of town. I'll be thinking about this for the next couple of days or week, just reflecting on this morning particularly, the stillness of it, the sounds of the birds, the light on the trees and the cliffs. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. See you next time. Bye.